Hello, everyone. This is the get-go of one more episode of Let's Talk About It. Thank you very much for taking part in it. Today, we are tackling a topic that has intrigued humanity for centuries, possibly. After all, many of us are still asking, what's the purpose of life? Have we come to the physical life for some reason? Are we to accomplish a mission while living on this planet? Have we had a chance to make a life plan? We'll be talking about all these questions today, but it's very important to say, don't believe in anything, not even in what we say here in the Let's Talk. Experiment, have your own personal experiences. To talk about the purpose of life today, let me introduce you, our talkers. João Saraiva, management professional with bachelor degree in international relations, master of business administration, and master student at UNESCO chair for peace studies at the University of Innsbruck, with Conscientiology since 2014, and at ASSIPI as an ASSIPI volunteer since 2017, and as a teacher since 2018. Very welcome, João, from Juba, South Sudan.
Welcome, Mario. It's always a pleasure, and I always thank you for the invitation. I hope we have a very interesting talk today. Well, the topic is very interesting, so I'm sure it's going to be very, very nice. Thank you for the invitation.
Very nice, João. Jade Curvelo is an electrical engineer, volunteer in Conscientiology since 2001, and as a teacher, speaker, and researcher since 2003. In the technical scientific area. Welcome, Jade, today.
Thank you, guys. It's a good pleasure to be here again and discuss this complex things of this subject. I'm glad to be with you.
Very nice, Jade. And having his debut participation today, my friend Daniel Bertolucci. He's a lawyer and entrepreneur with master's degree in law and also bachelor's degree in theater. Volunteer at ASSIPI since 2012 and as a teacher since 2013. Very welcome, Daniel.
Thank you, Mario. Thank you, João. Thank you, Jader. It's a pleasure to be here today with you. And I hope I can contribute with the reflections and debate about the purpose of life, such a defying topic as it is.
Very nice. It's important to say that all the ideas and concepts that we'll be talking about today is based on consciential paradigm, as we are an institution, one of the consciential-centric institutions of Conscientiology, right? And I would like to start for the first timers, right, presenting Conscientiology. Jade, could you please do it?
Okay, of course. Conscientiology is the science that studies the consciousness as a whole, with all its bodies, existences, experience, times and place of life, in an integral, projective, and self-conscious approach in relation to the various existential dimensions. Consciousness is me, is you, is also all people in human life and all self-conscious beings of dimensions outside human life. Consciential paradigm is focused on bioenergies, multidimensional and pluri-existential scope self-research, cosmoethics, universalism, and holosoma.
Very good. Conscientiology has more than 20 consciential-centric institutions, each of them specialized in one thing, in one key core topic for research, right? One specialization. ASSIPI is specialized on parapsychism. João, could you talk about ASSIPI, please?
Of course. So ASSIPI is one of those conscientiocentric institutions. ASSIPI is specialized in the study, research, and development of the practical use of parapsychism, aiming at the mature years of self-parapsychism for your conscientious evolution. So I think there are two aspects here that are very good to mention. Well, the first one is parapsychism, which is the extrasensory perceptions. It's everything that you can sense beyond your five senses. And the second thing is that ASSIPI focus on really developing a practical use of that. So how can you use it on your day-to-day life, which is something that attracts me a lot on ASSIPI.
Very nice indeed. And let's go for it's always important to say that, especially for the first time, is that ASSIPI in English project is aimed to promote the ideas of conscientiology worldwide, especially focused on the study, research, and use for practice of parapsychism. Let's go for our video. So let's get started with our today's topic. What's the purpose of life? Actually, it's a question. And let's start by saying that when we question why we were born, right? It's very common to hear some people say that they don't know what their mission is in the current life, physical life, right? Sometimes it may seem rather difficult to find out, of course. But sometimes the definition of purpose of life is not quite clear. So I would give Daniel the task to start with this definition. Daniel, what's the purpose of life?
Okay, Mario, so let's do it. Okay, I think the question of purpose of life is one of the most questionable topic of our existence. When someone starts to open its mind just to think about the reason why they are here, what they should do with their lives, and people are asking this question throughout the history and throughout the many different cultures and ages, group ages, and around the world. So people just asking why are we born? So why do we grow up? Why we should get education? Why should I get a good job? Why should I get married? Why should I have children? Why should I retire? So I think the one of the main, I think it's part of the human nature to seek meaning in the things that happen with our lives. So the meaning, I think, is a very close topic with the purpose, and I think that is something that we should do and could keep doing to evolve throughout our evolution in this life or in the lives that we have in the future. For in the case of our study here, of our approach on conscientiology, the essence, the purpose of being here in the interphysical dimension is to realize and to make and to come to achieve and to something that we call as a praxis. Okay, so praxis existential program that someone have, and that not everyone, and there are many different kinds of praxis, have before they are born. So before being born, I come up with my evolutionary coordinator, orientator, and to just to build the baseline of the next life that I will have. So once we are born here, the purpose of this life is to realize the praxis, which I think is something a really good start. I have touched a lot of concepts, right, Mario? And I think I'll pass this next approach for you.
Yeah, that's a very important topic because it affects people's life directly when we have a very meaningful life, and sometimes when we feel ourselves lost, a bit lost, right, for not knowing the purpose of your life or not having a kind of a direct interest for in the things we do. So, Shade, is it difficult, right, for someone not to have a kind of direction in life or not having something, internalized as something I really want to do or something I'm really interested in doing, I'm fully connected with. So how do you see that this kind of situation in which someone is still, in the search of the meaning of their lives?
Nice, Mario. I understand it, and I told you before we started this conversation that I think it's a very complex subject to discuss, because when you were reborn, you have a new brain. So in this brain doesn't have any information, if I mean in the intraphysical way, but you bring with your own consciousness many information, like what kind of profession, and that the family that you choose is can help you to evolve. But you have just a few tips to understand what the purpose of your life. For me, for example, when I think is 8 years old, is a small child. I'm a child now, but I was a small child.
You're very young, man. Yeah, very young, man.
And I remember that I already choose my profession. I'm an electronic engineer. Even that time, I was settling that I should to study electronic and be an engineer. Was a tip, but part of my program, or all the clauses of my program life, the items of my program life, I'm finding during this life. For example, the volunteer, be a volunteer of a Conscientiology institution like ASSIPI, for example, is an important item of my pro-access, my program life. I think the other point is the intuition. Many people have an intuition that they are doing the right things, the good things, or and in this feeling can be how can I say?
It's very personal or
Yes,
very subjective.
can be an indication of you are doing your program. It's my opinion about this.
Yeah. Actually, well, it's difficult, when you find someone to say to you exactly what you should do, because it's not going to work. You have to feel connected with this, and more seriously, more importantly, is for you to feel, inside, to feel it inside, or to have a really strict connection with what you do.
You are happy, for example. I think it's happiness is an indicator for this, as you told it to us moments ago. Sorry to interrupt you, but
No, it's fine.
You give us a good tip. I think you have intuition, and you are feeling good about what are you doing in your life, in your family. I don't know.
Yeah, and sometimes what happens is when we really find what we want, when you feel 100% or utterly connected to what we do with our profession, it gives us a extra strength, to do this kind of thing. For example, João Saraiva is working in Juba, South Sudan, right? And I would like him to tell us this experience. What prompted you to be doing this work now, João?
Well, that's a long story. I'll try to make it brief if I can. But it has everything to do with the topic that we're talking right now, and many things that Danielle and Jader touched upon. Which, well, first, well, actually, at some point, I realized I wanted to go more into the world of peacemaking and conflict transformation and conflict management. So I started to engage in study of that, to refine. I mean, I knew that was one of the things I did well, so I should invest on that. And then I started really studying and defining that. So here, South Sudan it's a very it's a conflict context. And there's a lot of work to do here. But actually being able to come here working on a conflict area, it's not very easy. People are really selected to come here. And I didn't have any experience in the humanitarian sector and all of that, but a lot of synchronicities just put me in touch with the right people, and at the end they really needed the skills that I have, which they didn't have in place. And so the whole thing just happened to be very suited and like tailor-made for me to be here. And I think those are the kinds of things that you realize. I mean, it's so hard to be there. And at the same time, all doors opened, and all the connections were there, and I was invited to go, which would be really unlikely. If you don't see that, that's a clear sign that you are on a good path of what you do have to do, your purpose in life. You have to be very blind. So if you ask me, okay, is it an easy decision? Of course not. I have a very comfortable life in Rio. Back home, I'm leaving my wife. I'm leaving lots of loved ones that are around there, and being on a difficult conflict area. It's a high security area as well, so you don't have much freedom to go around. It's not like, okay, now I'm in a different city, like I'm visiting São Paulo or visiting Rio or whatever city in the world. I just I'll go around and walking in the city and discover the city. It's not like that. You are very controlled on your movements and all of that kind of thing. But at the same time, even though there are all those difficulties, and now going again on one of the points that Jader says, my sense of well-being is so lifted. And I feel so good all the time, even though I'm far away, even though I'm not being able to do the things that I like, even though I'm in a restricted movement area, and even though this is not a very easy context to be. So all of the signs that I have is that I'm doing something that I should be doing. And that for sure, I have that sensation that I'm at the right place at the right time. But I didn't receive a letter from a spirit saying, okay, you should do this, and that, and go to Juba. It's more those signs that you have, the synchronicities that take you there, the well-being that you're feeling. So it's more being in tune with those sensations. And I'll leave it here because if not, I'll talk forever.
Very nice, John. It's very interesting to know. Danielle, I would ask you something. You studied law, right? So you are a lawyer, and also a master degree in law and bachelor degrees in theater, So actually, I'd like you to tell us a bit of it, because it's quite extreme, I would say. When it must be like a lawyer, and how are you connected to those areas, please?
Okay, that's a great question. Actually, I think I want to keep the João's reflection. I think the spontaneity that spontaneous things that we have in life, the facts, the situation, events, they are really good food for thoughts about the purpose of life. So I think first of all, I not simply decided to study law since I was an early child, but after I start to ask myself what would I do with my life, law come up with the only alternative. Not because I have lawyers or judges or anyone in my family that studies law before me, but my grandfather said me, Daniel, I think you have a really strong profile of a lawyer. I don't know if he said that as a good thing, but but he said I think he had the he was a kind of a frustrated lawyer because he didn't go to law school, but he was really keen to politics and law, and so I think he posed his wishes in me. And after that, I decided to go for law school. But during the law school, mostly the half of my course, I had a little bit of existential crisis, which is something that most of us will have if they start to question the foundations of an interphysical life. If you go out from the robexes, as we say, right, Mario? If you when you start to question the automated way of living, then I start to question that. So why am I here? Why am I doing this? Why did I go to law school? What should I do? So I start to make contact with my emotions. I start to make contact with myself. And I had something that since I was an early child as well, which is a really strong connection with art and music. And so I decided to go to theater. Oh, no, okay. So now I will become. I don't want to be a lawyer, so now I want to be an actor. So this is something. This is my profile as well. It was something like that. I'm an extremist. With I should invest in the middle term. And at that time I was young. I was discovering a lot about myself yet. But I decided to go to theater school. I went to internship during the law school. I worked in law office. I worked in public office. But I want to go to theater school after law school. I think I had a lot of questions about the reason why I went to theater school. But I know that it was the right thing to do because I met my wife there. So after the first month of theater, we were together, and we are together for 11 years and a half already. And she also studies and is a conscientiological teacher, and we live in the same values and principles of life. So I think the first reason I went to theater, besides get in touch with my emotion, which is really important, was to meet my wife. But after I left theater school, I worked for 1 year and 1 or 2 years as an actor, but I didn't do a lot of things. I did the advertisement, but in the background, I was getting in touch back with law. Because at that time, I found a meaning in law. So I take this opportunity just to present a suggestion of book, which is The Man's Searching of Meaning by Viktor Frankl, which is an Austrian psychiatrist that was taken to Auschwitz during the Holocaust. And he said that at that time he discovered that the people that had discovered their meaning, the meaning of experience, they had more will to live. Okay, so after I found the meaning in law, which was my connection, my holobiography connection with that, the reason that I could use law to help others was, so I went back to law school and I did my master's degree in human rights. So my mastering is in law, but my field of study was human rights, and at that time I started to work also with refugees, and which was a really intense period of time. Which I worked with direct assistance with refugees and asylum seekers in São Paulo, and so that it was really interesting. And I found a way to help others with law, and so I didn't have to use the theater itself, but it helped me a lot with communication. It helped me a lot to get in touch with my emotions, which is very important during our life. Because I just want to also take the opportunity to make a reflection that although the professional and the career is and the university, the college courses are important issues of praxis, they are not the only ones. So I think this get in touch with ourselves, the use of our energy to help others, and there are many aspects of the praxis that we should take in consideration. That which is profession is only one, which is a really important one, but not the only one. So I think this is something that I still discovering, Mario. One of my subjects of study is evolutionology, which is the basic of the evolutionology comes from the role of the evolutionary supervisor or orientator, which is they have two main foundations approaches that are law and theater. This is not me that I'm talking about it. It's Professor Valdo Vieira that talked about it. To understand the other people's dramas and to understand other people's rights. So I think this is still to be discovered, but I think this is a really good background that we should think about it.
Great. You've got a serious point, an important point in our discussion today, which is sometimes we may come to this life with lots of talents and skills, right? So we may have one profession and any other. But when we find exactly the purpose of a life or existential program or a praxis, right? Praxis is the expression we use in conscientiology. So we feel 100% connected, as João said, a sense of well-being is clear. So, but sometimes you have to do something different. For example, you studied theater, right? To be a good lawyer, of course. Why? Because being an actor, you would have a very good communication and a very good, how can I say it, outspoken, kind of behavior to talk, not to be afraid of talking, not to be shy of talking, So I think sometimes they may seem to be an opposite, but they are complementary, and it is so interesting. I have an experience in conscientiology because I started studying conscientiology in 1991, quite a time ago, and after I started volunteering in 2005, and as a teacher in 2007, and I have volunteered for other institutions. But I must say that at this moment at ASSIPI, I'm doing the kind of a work that is 100% inside me. I'm totally connected with this kind of work, which is to work with conscientiology in English. As I have been an English teacher in my private life as a profession for 25 years, I'm quite connected with the language, and I think that the work we are doing at ASSIPI at the moment with the ASSIPI in English is 100% connected to my praxis. I feel that the sense of well-being is exactly the one João Saraiva mentioned a few times ago. A short time ago. People, now I would like to throw a question to the audience, right, about it. I'd like to ask you how connected you feel with your profession, right? How connected you feel with your profession. Talifa, could you please, Talifa is on monitor in the backstage, could you just put this question here to people? How connected you feel with your profession? And people, let's go now. Let's have a turn point, in our conversation and have this approach more conscientiological, right? About praxis, right? Existential program. Why do we need, or why should we need a praxis, Jade? How important is the praxis for us?
Okay, it's the name is purpose of life. I'm happy to wake up every morning and make assistance. It's two important things that our friends during the explanation give to us: the assistance and the self-research. Sometimes you should to learn different things to understand more about yourself. So when you put together all this knowledge, even in the theater school, or being a lawyer or engineer, or goes to the South Africa to help people in a conflict area, this situation sometimes is not simple to deal. For example, I'm an engineer. During many parts of my life, was working with engineering in shopping malls, like manager. But at this time, I'm working with coffee. I'm a coffee seller. For me, it makes me happy, So I don't know. Is selling coffee is part of my program life of my practice. But one point I know, I have my profession and give me money to study, to buy books, to buy food, but volunteering and make assistance is the important part of my practice. Give me some support to understand more about myself, to study my past life. And when you use your energies, as Danielle said, to understand more about yourself, you find answers about your program life. Understand more about who you are in the past, and understand who you are right now. And I don't know if I'm clearly, but I think assistance is a good point to understand more about proaxis.
Very good, Shader. We have a question from Lenny Gaudino. Lenny Gaudino, thank you for your participation today. Len asks us, can you tell us which techniques can we apply to discover your purpose of life? João?
I'll touch on some different ones. I think there are many. One is really being first understanding what are the things that you do well, and so what are your talents, for example. That is a good tip to understand what is your purposes in life. I would say very broadly is putting those talents at the service of others would be a good purpose in life. We usually think that, okay, I have to use talent so that I can get a job and a lot of money and recognition, and I'll have a comfortable life, and then I will feel good by the day that I'm earning a lot of money. And maybe, well, actually, I think it's kind of reversed. Is when you start thinking, okay, what can I do with my abilities that will help the others? That is when you're going to be first feeling better, and actually, I think that all the other things that come with it will just come. And here I would like to kind of stop and say I'm saying this from a very privileged position. So. I think all of us here have been born in families that have gave us education and food and where to live and all these kinds of things. So we can look at other things. But I think exactly by being on that position, we know that we'll never have that scarcity of all these things. So we can really focus on, okay, what can we do to others, because our needs, our basic needs, are all already met, and we can look at these things. So that's one technique, like looking at your talents. The other is, I think we've talked about it, is looking at what are the things that make you feel well. Because when I believe that when you're connected to your purpose in life, you feel well, and that can be very simple things, like, okay, I like to, for example, cook for my friends, and I'm really happy when I'm cooking for my friends and we gather and have a good time. Okay, that might be a tip of things that you can do, because actually we always think, oh, I have a huge plan that I have to fulfill. And I think it's more knowing what are you using your abilities for, and what is your intention by using them, is what will put you kind of in track for your purpose in life. So I'm sorry for being very broad, but I would insist on, okay, knowing about yourself. Who are you? What do you do well? How can you put that in the service of others? And what makes you feel better? What makes you feel well? What gives you a higher, different level of sense of well-being? Those are very powerful tools to find your purpose.
Definitely, I couldn't agree way more with you, because that's exactly how I'm feeling at the moment. When I think about the things that we have done before, and what I'm doing now, the kind of feeling is completely different, right, Danielle? Danielle, do you have any experiences of dealing with your praxis?
I think João, he did an excellent approach about it, because I think the first thing that we should do once we start to ask about our praxis, if we want to be conscious of it, okay, is to self-research. Okay, there are people that are born with praxis, but they achieve their complexes with their existential. They complete their existential program without knowing that they had praxis. This is possible, okay? Something that, for example, a surgeon that for their whole life, they dedicated their lives in benefit of other people's health, for example. This is just an example. Or a researcher or a writer that they dedicate their whole lives to this one particular subject, and but they didn't know that these topics were their praxis. So this is possible to perform your praxis without knowing. But as we know that we have a praxis, I think for me it's much more logical to decide to search it and decide to and make efforts to find to gather the pieces of our puzzle and to develop a more professional, evolutional professional approach for this stuff. For example, Mario, Jader, and Joanna, they are very aware of it. But they are the helpers, the astrophysical helpers. They are specifically astrophysical helpers that are in charge to take care of our way through our praxis. Okay, but let's say that I have a praxis that for me today is something very much unachievable. Okay, something that, okay, Danielle, you do something that you are not yet prepared for it. So if I have this information today, this will something that this will scare the bird. Okay, this will make me afraid to proceed in this spontaneous path that is appearing in front of me. Okay, so we go with baby steps. So astrophysical helpers and the cosmos and the universe itself, they bring information homeopathically. Okay, one brick out after other brick. So I think that's we are eager, we are anxious to know, oh, what I'm here to do, what should I do, should I become, I don't know, should I do that, should I do this, okay, let's be calm, okay, the things will show up. I think we will we develop our practice one day out of after the other day. So I think the techniques is to be aware, to self-research, to be open, okay, not afraid, but also not anxious, because anxiety brings tension, and tension brings bad decisions. So we need to be aware, but also we need to be really close to the ground to make good decisions and to enjoy every opportunity that comes in the front of us.
Yeah, you said something very important, which is self-research, right? Because sometimes when you ask people, what are you good at, right? What are you good at? Say, well, people have kind of a difficulty, recognizing, the strong traits, right? Because we have weak traits or strength traits, right? Or traits that we haven't achieved. But then we have to analyze my strong traits, what I'm really connected with, what idea, what kind of work, and I would go for that. I would go for my strong traits. I would follow my strong traits. Sometimes kind of intuition, sometimes we're fully aware of what we want, but I would follow a strong trait. So the first thing is to analyze what your strong traits are, right? And the connection you feel with this, with the activities that your my strong trait involve, that your strong traits might involve. So, but Jade, okay, it's important to say, because when we're talking about the purpose of life, it may sound like a bit open for different kind of angles to analyze it. But conceptuologically speaking, right, we're talking about practice existential program, which means the purpose of life, right? So when we make a life plan, right, when we don't want to waste our time in the physical environment, in this opportunity of life we've got, we can make a life plan before, right? Before coming to life. What would you say about it?
Yes, it's an important question, and I would like to add something as in this conversation, the self-research. In Conscientiology, self-research is like a pillar of the science, and when you try or make investment to develop or to master your all energy, you develop your parapsychism. When you develop your parapsychism, when you evolve with these tools, you can access more information about yourself, and this contribute with your self-research. When you do this, you can access this planning that you made before you were born, and you can understand study your multi-existential cycle. And during this multi-existential cycle, you have a period before born, intermissive period, and make an intermissive course you call in Conscientiology call intermissive course. And during this course, you make your planning. Now, Jother here, I'm alive, it's in the intraphysical body, with this intraphysical body. I'm trying to access this planning. And I think it's like a tool of or a technique to self-research, to understand more of our proposed life. I don't know if I'm clearly, but I understand this way. When you invest in your self-research, you develop your parapsychism, and you develop your power of assistance, and you finding some pieces about this planning that you made before born.
Before you were born. Okay, yeah, sure. João, would you like to add something concerning this topic, right? For example, let me ask you a question, because it just, dawned on me that does everybody have a life plan?
Well, I think that no. And I think that there can be very different levels of life plan. I think that some could be very simple, and some can be very complex. And I think that the most complex ones depend on many people joining together to do something as well. So it's finding a group of people that you're gonna work together. But some consciousness can be we're in different levels, and so some life plans can be just very very simple, as just being born, having a life, and just preparing for a next one. So yeah, in that sense, I wouldn't say that everybody has.
Yeah, it works like a kind of intuition, right? Actually, when you make a life plan, Danielle, isn't it connected to the kind of autonomy you have of your own evolution?
Yes, yes, yes. This is a really important topic to discuss. Is just do I have the power to choose my own practice or not? Okay, that depends a lot. When we talk about it, we talk about karma, for example. Okay, and karma, free will, and not and not that much free will that we have to decide something that we can do or not. So I think we are open, but I think we have like Jadar said, during our intermissive course, we have thematics, we have subjects, we have issues that we have to take care of. For example, I have my own karma, my ego karma. I have my group karma, which are my relatives, my friends, the people that I live with, my country, my city, my country, my planet. But also there is the poly karma. But mostly I come here to develop and to resolve and to find a solution for some issues that I bury in my ego karma, me with myself. So I cannot just come here and say, okay, I'll be this, I'll be that. No, that depends on the best way to solve your issues that you have been adding up to yourself during your whole multi-existential cycle. Okay, I am born, I grow up, I die, I am in the astrophysical dimension. I that vary my lucidity. I can be more, I can be less. And during this cycle, I acquire these credits and debits debts that I have to pay or to during my next lifetime, for example. Not only with myself, but also with my group. So I am born with from a father, from a mother. I am born in a family. I grow up with friends. So these are responsibilities that I have, which I don't have that much power to decide whether I should do or not. I have to do it. So I have a free will to decide if I will do or if I'm not going to do. Of course, no one is going to come here and force me to decide to act to help others, for example, to help my father, help my mother, to help my friends, to help anyone that I might have hurt, prejudice, or bring any kind of damage or loss in the past. So I have the free will to say no, I'm not going to do it. But the consequences are unbearable. I think that unescapable. I mean, so of course we have a free will, but not that much. I think I made myself clear, Mario.
Yeah, sure. You did. I would say something interesting for our conversation, which is, well, everything well planned has a big chance to succeed, right? But sometimes I particularly like the things well planned. For example, when we have a trip, when you go on a trip, and we have everything planned, sometimes we have something like we put our trip at stake and we just kind of adventures towards or things like this. But actually, when we plan our things, we plan our life, when you plan our budget, when you plan our studies, we have a greater chance to succeed. And this happens to our life. And then when you say, okay, does anybody have a purpose of life, or does anybody have an existential program? Okay, as long as you are concerned about your life, as long as you are concerned about the things you do, and you don't want to waste time doing things totally useless, for your life, that sometimes we just open doors that we should not open, and we just waste lots of time not knowing exactly what we want. So it takes a more time. Whereas when we have things planned, we'll make the most of our time here in the extra-physical environment. So a plan is very important for us to exactly do what we need to do, or at least have this clear in our mind according to just a whole biography, or our past skills or talents that we bring from other lives, and to make use of it in a more efficient way. So that's the reason we plan our life. And I would say, if you want to reach that level, right, and plan your next life in intimacy, of course, maybe it's important. What do you think, people? Maybe it's important to plan your life here, like to know exactly what you want, to understand who you are, your strong traits, having a self-research and understand yourself, your conscientiality, and exploring your possibilities, and enhancing your abilities, developing skills, and invest in yourself, in your knowledge. Maybe that at this point, maybe we are getting more and more into our planification of our life, of our future lives, because we are acting like this at the present life. So let's not wait for us to die and go to the extra-physical environment to start planning something. We can start planning our life here and have autonomy on the things we do, the place we want to get to, and everything we have it as a goal, right? So I think it's important. Let's just go, Jean Saraiva, what would you say about it? We are closer to end our conversation, but I think that we should just close having this approach about the importance of taking over our life.
Yeah, it's interesting because we touched on I'm trying to find a balance here. So we touched on, okay, it's important to be here and present and understand that what you're doing right now is what is giving you a sense of well-being. And as Danielle says, it's brick by brick. So if we tend to look too much forward, it might bring a lot of frustration, because you say, I wanted to be there, and that whatever it is, and I'm right here. And so how am I going to feel good about it? And at the same time, we're saying, oh no, but you have to try to find out that sensation of well-being. So it's a good combination of and it's hard. I'm not saying that it's easy to get that balance. I try to be aware of it. Of, okay, I want to do plans. I know that I want to take some steps in this life, and also maybe know that in the next life I'll be better if I already learn a lot of things in this life. So I'll plan for that, and I'll have the discipline to go forward and do these things. At the same time, understanding that what you're doing right now is your purpose in life. So it's not what you're going to do on your next one. It's at this moment right now, and being present and with what you're doing in this exact moment. This is fulfilling your life purpose. So it's having those two mindsets at the same time. Is knowing that I've done things in the past to be here, so I'm fulfilling my life plan right now. At the same time, this is a continuous movement, and I want to get somewhere. And what do I have to do now while I'm fulfilling my life plan right now to go to those other things that I want to do in the future? I hope it was helpful enough, and I think it's really important to keep that balance between those two mindsets.
Excellent. Jade, your final considerations.
I think to achieve our goals, we should to develop our parapsychism, because as João says, and you, Mario. You can plan our next live here right now, but I should be aware about this. So to be aware, I should to improve my self research and develop my parapsychism. Is a good point. Making assistance to other people
Yeah.
is the other important thing.
Danielle.
Okay, I think me myself, I have a lot to think about the purpose of my life, and I think this is a self debate that is still in development. But as far as I go, as I understand, as we pointed before, it's brick after brick, and I think we should pay attention to the anxiety, to see where we are going to. But I think if we stop and then start just stop for a moment and start to planify our own life, we can diminish, reduce this anxiety of where we are going to, and start to build strategies to appoint goals. Where should I go to? What do I want to do? Where do I feel the smell of helping, or places that I can help others in a better way? And so I think each one of us can to develop their own techniques to approach their own praxis. But basically, I think the north, I think the compass points to helping others. So I think this is a really strong value and foundation of every praxis.
Very nice, good message. And unfortunately, we are approaching to the end of our Let's Talk today, and we have some things to tell you, right? First thing is the course we are having next week, right? Which is Optimal Self-Maturity with instructor Adriana Lopez, right? 4 and 5 of September, Saturday and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., right? The choice of direct self-effort in order to manifest oneself with the maximum of ethical competencies and acquired thus far while optimizing personal evolution, right? The course will be, we have simultaneous interpretation to English and Spanish, right? The next event I would like to tell you is coming out in October, which is the Psychic Encounters. That's very important to say. From October 4th on, every Monday from 3 to 4 p.m. we have an hour of discussion. We'll be reading this book, Projections of Conscientiology of Consciousness, and by Professor Valdo Vieira, right? And we have a round of discussion proposed and based on the projections of the Conscientious book and other parapsychic experiences. So if you have a parapsychic experience, you can come and participate in this event, because we'll be hearing you and trying to answer your questions, right? It will be an activity entirely held in English, and from October 4th on, every Monday at 3 p.m. Please join us. That will be very nice to have you with us. And our first entry course is coming out in October 2, Saturday from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. is our entry course. Due out in October, our entry course entirely held in English, the basis of parapsychic development. In this course, we have 13 lessons, 2-hour lesson that will be talking about parapsychism and giving you lots of very important information for you to develop your parapsychism. It'll be very nice. Some questions we might be answering: who are we? Where have we come from? Where are we going to afterlife? What's evolution all about? Is there a purpose of life? This is the topic we have just talked today. And what's the consciousness? So this is our entry course coming out in English in October, 2nd October, Saturday. And our contact, follow us on media, right? For more information, we have our Instagram, ASSIPI _global, YouTube, ASSIPI English channel. Just click down there and subscribe the channel. We're always launching new videos. And email assipienglish@assipi.org. And our website is assipi.org/en, entirely written in English. And the next episode that Let's Talk About will come out on September 26th, and we'll be talking about energetic health. Very good to have you here today. I see you on the next episode of Let's Talk. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.